good morning, good afternoon, or good night from wherever and whenever you are watching us. I am Cameron Scandal. That is Steven Schreffler. And we are down. Thank you so much for joining us here today. It's been a while. We're glad to be back. Life gets hectic, and you get away from the things that matter in life, like this show and the service that we provide for you fine people. We got a good show for you today. We got the NBA draft, some lack of things happening in Portland, and Chris Paul making moves yet again. We're going to talk about it all. Without further ado, let's get right to it. Get right into it. Our first topic of the day, the NBA draft happened a few days ago now. Victor Wembanyama going number 1, Brandon Miller number 2, and Scoot Henderson number 3. Those were the three, I guess, biggest names that were in the draft class this year. Wembanyama has come out of the French League. French LMB Pro A League is the entire title of that league, where he averaged 21, 10, and 2 with 3 blocks on 47% from the field, 27% from 3, and 82% from the free throw line. He was voted the MVP of that league this past year, the best young player, the best defender, the top scorer, and the league's best blocker. He is also being touted as potentially one of, if not the greatest player in the history of basketball.
You almost made me spit up my water.
People are saying he's either Kareem or bust. And listen, this kid is good. He is a phenomenal talent, and he is a rarity, let's say. Wembanyama is getting such high praise that it is LeBron-level-esque, where if he's not a Hall of Famer, it's a bust. If he's not a top 10 player all time, maybe even top 5, it's a bust. I can't remember in recent memory we, as in sports media, giving someone this much of a ceiling and this high level of expectations ever. I remember when Duke won the national title in 2015, Jahlil Okafor was touted as a point guard who plays center. He had all these funky dribble moves and had great ball hand and all this stuff. And I'm not saying Wembanyama is Okafor. He's far better than Okafor. This is not something new. This hype is not something we haven't heard before in terms of that player archetype. Why we're putting it so much into Wemby and saying, well, this time it's so much different, I don't know. I just don't get it. I think he'll have a solid career. He's probably going to win Rookie of the Year. But saying he's already this all-time NBA great at this point, saying that that's where he's going to be, I just don't see it. And I'm not sure what it is exactly I'm missing.
A lot of times what happens is the physicality in the NBA is so much more different than the physicality in these European leagues. So, okay, he's 7'4", but I also see that he's long, he's lanky, and also he's going to be put in positions against guys like Giannis Antetokounmpo, guys like Joel Embiid, guys like Nikola Jokic, who have the ability to use their bodies and their size to move you. And I can't imagine that the Spurs would be considering playing him anywhere outside of maybe the 4 or the 5. So you have to think, is his game going to translate with his ability to play defense as well? I'm more worried about his ability to play defense in the NBA. Like, yeah, he's long and he's tall, but as I said, he's going to be put up against guys who are going to know how to use their bodies against him and could end him in foul trouble. Is he going to be the two-way player that I think everybody is saying? I'm not so much worried offensively. I think he'll find his game there, but it's on the defensive side that I really have a lot of questions about Wembanyama.
And to speak on the physicality, I mean, Chet Holmgren this past year was given not the same level, but a ridiculous amount of hype of how his NBA game is going to be, and he came into the league and immediately crumbled. People at his size, no matter what your weight is, have a greater risk at getting ACL, MCL injuries because of all that pressure on their joints.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he's already frail as it is. Who knows when he starts playing against larger bodies and higher competition, what that's going to do to him. But the French, playing in a French league, and we say this about a lot of other Europeans too, this French league, as you mentioned me earlier, wasn't even the best league in Europe. And not that that is fair to use against Wemby, but maybe, I mean, he's going to be Kareem already in the NBA, and he averages 21 and 10 and not like 30 and 15.
Exactly.
Like,
Exactly.
I just don't know. I just feel like there's this big thing, like this big secret or play or highlight or something that I just haven't seen or we don't know about that everyone's getting this hype from. We're not saying he's going to be bad or a bust or anything, just not at this level that everyone is expecting him to be. Do you remember Frank Ntilikina? Yeah, exactly.
Who?
Frank Ntilikina was this French guard who I'm not sure if he came out of the same league or not. Came out of a French league or a European league, went as a high overall pick, and I couldn't tell you where he's at now. I know.
Isn't there somebody named Darko Milicic that was like the #1 overall pick? Was
something like that.
Jesus himself in basketball shoes and like was nothing.
But I'm saying, like, think about all these players that receive such high praise coming out of high school, coming out of college, wherever, and saying that they're going to be the next big thing. And I mean, they just weren't. It's not easy. And we see it all the time. It's more often than not, it's the expectations are too high.
And you had made a comment to me the other day that I think really resonates. We've been talking about, recently the G League and versus going to college versus doing this. Wembanyama, he hasn't had much experience against top elite talent. So when you're watching him play in this French league, and we got to remember, he's 19.
Yeah.
He's not coming into the NBA out of he's 19. Okay, he's playing in the professional league in France, but he hasn't played against the elite college talent. He hasn't played against elite NBA talent. He didn't play in the G League. He played in the French league, which once again, what is the equivalent of that? So there's just so many more questions than answers when it comes to Wembanyama for me.
It's just the level of expectations and hype that he's getting right now at this point that we've never seen it before besides LeBron. And I think LeBron warranted it more at what he was doing, especially he was in high school doing outlandish things to these other high school kids that we just never seen before. So it was understandable. And it's
is the Wemby hype more than Zion?
Yes. The expectations are much greater. Something. Because we were just saying Wembanyama or that Zion was going to be like LeBron with his athleticism and his impact and show-stopping stuff. We're saying Wemby's game and skill and career projections. We never had that conversation about Zion. I always said on Scandal Sports Hour, I said Zion was always more comparable to Blake Griffin than LeBron.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
All right. So, our overall thoughts are Wemby is not that good, but still good. Still pretty good. We talked about Bradley Beal being moved to Phoenix and Chris Paul being moved to Washington. Well, Chris Paul is on a flight once again, this time going from Washington to California. Part of the Golden State Warriors has been traded for Jordan Poole, a 2030 first-round pick, and a 27 second-round pick for Chris Paul. I don't understand what direction Golden State is trying to go with this move. What makes Chris Paul so valuable and what makes Chris Paul's legacy and something that should be talked about when he is discussed is that he is one of the greatest leaders in the locker room and on the end of the floor, in the game of all time. And he also is one of the purely most valuable players based on if you add him to your roster, he will immediately make a direct impact and change based on his play and who he is. And that has been true when the team is young guys. They need a direct floor general, no real guidance or leader, and they need someone to control the aspects, much like LeBron, but at a much smaller degree. Golden State's core is 3 veterans led by Steph Curry, who also neither one of these guys are able to play a 2 guard. They are both 1s. you are going to assume they're going to bench Chris Paul and be the sixth man. So right now, if that were to happen, this is the Warriors depth chart. So the starters will be Steph, Clay, Wiggins. Let's assume right now Draymond is going to still be there. So say Draymond and Kevon Looney. Chris Paul, Gary Payton, Moses Moody. That'd be your 8-man rotation. None of those guys need Chris Paul. He's overqualified for this position. I mean, you bring in Chris Paul, like I said, to lead younger guys and be when the starters are out, someone, or actually he'd be a starter. When you have guys in who are young, don't know what you're doing, he's out there leading everyone. But now he's at that position in Golden State where when the starters are out, you need someone out there to lead the troops, kind of like what the Lakers wanted or tried to do with Westbrook. And that's just not who Chris Paul is. That's never been what he's about. That's just such a smaller role and not what he has been about. But he claims he's there to help Golden State win. You certainly can't get worse by adding Chris Paul, but I just don't overall, Steve, understand why they did this trade, and I don't understand why they would say Jordan Poole is here for the future, give him that extension, and then 3 days later trade him away for Chris Paul. It just makes no sense to me.
Jordan Poole, ever since that Draymond punch, there has been an internal conflict within the Warriors amongst all of the swirling rumors about what the Warriors were going to do about their re-signing Chris Paul, re-signing Klay Thompson, re-signing Draymond Green, Jordan Poole, they said he's here for the future. Steph Curry came out and said, in a little interview, they said, what do you think about the future of the Warriors? And he pointed to Jordan Poole's locker and said, that dude right there is the future. And then all of a sudden, Jordan Poole gets traded. And it makes you wonder if there wasn't more than to the whole situation than what we originally thought. Because I can't see how a team would see more value in Chris Paul than they would in a guy who they just signed to like a 4-year, 130 some $1 million contract extension. So, that right there. And then, it came out that right after the trade was announced, Jordan Poole unfollowed Draymond Green on Instagram. So all of these pictures, pieces to the puzzle kind of paint this odd picture in Golden State that just kind of makes Jordan Poole look like the redheaded stepchild that was there. And they just kind of didn't want to deal with him. They saw, people in the building saw more value in Draymond Green than they did Jordan Poole. And they kind of banished Jordan Poole to the Wizards. This whole situation just seems weird to me. And it just comes down to, I'd like answers on why. Why did the Warriors do this? Why did you trade away a guy who you just signed a massive contract? And don't give me, oh, we were trying to save future money. I don't want to hear that. Why did you trade Jordan Poole? What happened? Because something must have happened. There's no reason you make this trade for Chris Paul.
I just kind of had this little revelation while you were talking. So first of all,
Ooh.
I think a lot of this obviously stems from the punch that happened in last offseason. I think Draymond Green came into the front office and said, listen, him or me. Had issues with Durant, had issues with Kerr, and they very much value Draymond Green. And I've said before that Draymond Green has a unique value that is only valuable to Golden State. I also read this that came out 6 hours ago. Draymond Green said, quote, I don't like CP at all. We don't have a good relationship at all, but I respect his hustle and I respect his IQ. He's smart as hell. CP saw stuff coming up. Draymond don't like Jordan Poole. Obviously caused a lot of issues. Jordan Poole's gone. Draymond and Kevin Durant, a lot of different issues. Now, Durant made that choice to leave by himself, but there was a lot of talk about Draymond being a big part of why he left. Now you're going to bring Chris Paul in, who's got issues with Steph, had his issues with Draymond. As I mentioned earlier, Chris Paul is a very vocal leader, likes to be the guy in the room. No one likes that more than Draymond. I think Draymond is going to walk around Golden State with a big head and the chip on his shoulder of like, look at all these things I did. Look at who they respect more. I'm really about this. Chris Paul is going to come in. And I think a large part of Golden State's success over the past few years has been their family, the ball movement, the chemistry. They all get along. I think this season, with how the last year and a half has gone, I think there's going to be an issue between Draymond, Steph, Chris Paul, and the front office before the start of this coming season.
Yo, Adrian.
I think
He's
someone between the four of them are gonna have issues, and something else is gonna happen. I also didn't believe that this would be Chris Paul's final stop. I thought they were gonna get Chris Paul to trade him again, but it seems that Chris Paul said he's there to help the Warriors win, and the Warriors have said that Chris Paul is there to stay and they want to keep him.
It doesn't make sense to trade Jordan Poole.
No.
I
don't get it.
Internal issue. There had to be.
I just don't get it. So I think to wrap up this segment, I just have 3 words written and circled on my notes next to the depth chart that just says, "Where's the fit?" That sums it up, I think.
I agree with you.
That's Chris Paul to the Warriors and Jordan Poole to the Wizards, as well as 2 picks. Damian Lillard and the Portland Trail Blazers are pissing me off, because all we hear is from Dame that it's either he's loyal to Portland, I'm here to stay, or it's like, I want to win, or I don't want to be part of a youth movement, and they draft Scoot Henderson and keep that number 3 pick. And then they come out and say, well, we're not trading Dame. But earlier they were like, Dame kind of wants to move on. We might put him in a winning situation. I don't know what's going on in Portland.
I don't think anyone does.
I have a circle with the arrows where it says so Portland does bad. And then it goes to Dame gets frustrated and starts putting out little cryptic things that he wants to move. And then trade rumors start coming out that all these teams are going to trade for Dame and make these better moves and blah, blah, blah. And then it comes out and someone says, either Portland says we're not trading Dame or Dame says I'm not leaving. And then it starts over again.
And it goes right back to the beginning.
That's what's happening for 3 years. So listen, here's what I got to say to you, Portland. I'm talking to you. Now listen. You can't say that you are loyal to Dame, and you can't say that you want to win with Dame and then do nothing. You just can't. Dame can't be sitting here bleeding for you guys, putting his heart in Oregon. I've never seen someone want to stay in Oregon so bad in my life. He wants to be there. He is a rare type of player that is ungodly loyal for no reason when he gets nothing in return. And you're spitting in his face. There is not enough talent on his team to win right now. He literally said he doesn't want to be part of a youth movement. He doesn't want to be part of not a rebuild, but building guys up. Dame wants to win. So I'm sick of hearing all the trade stuff, all the frustrations when nothing ever happens. Make up your mind. Figure it out. Listen to the sound. And that's all I got to say about it.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Portland. You're not a Scoot Henderson away from winning an NBA title. I love Scoot. You've heard me boasting about Scoot Henderson. I think Scoot Henderson is more impactful, NBA ready than Victor Wembanyama is this year. You know, Scoot Henderson, there's a very realistic argument for him to be Rookie of the Year this year. I don't see Portland winning if you don't make any other trades. Like, unless Portland is sitting on something that we don't know about. You know, the NBA free agency, I think, starts June 30th or something like that. Something is happening in Portland that I think, because we've heard Dame has had no recent contact with the Portland Trailblazers. I remember you had sent that to me on Instagram, Cam, and I looked at it and I said, there's something going on in Portland. Because if Damian Lillard is not in contact with his team after they just drafted the 2nd overall pick in the NBA, I mean, the 3rd overall pick in the NBA draft, Scoot Henderson, something is wrong. If you're not going to make moves to take Damian Lillard and put him in a better situation, then you need to make moves to take the guys that you have and go get another star or comparable player to play with Damian Lillard. And if you're not going to do either, then what Dame needs to do is recognize that they're not doing what he wants them to do and step up and ask for a trade. But you and me have both said that Dame's too nice of a person. He's not that. He is ungodly loyal. He has this Dirk Nowitzki-esque loyalty to his franchise. And good for you, Dame. But if that's what you want, you can't have your cake and eat it too. So if you want to stay in Portland and you're not willing to step up and say, I want to trade, then shut your mouth.
And look, if Dane just wants to live his life, if he just likes living in Portland, likes being a Blazer, and just wants to be a part of that franchise, I'm totally okay with that.
Me
But then
too.
don't talk about wanting to win. Don't talk about what the Blazers need to do or what you don't want to be a part of. Shut up and do your job, and that's it. Like you can't like that's if there's but if you want to actually do something within the NBA, then you need to make something happen or make it be known that you want something to happen. And
didn't he just recently talk about his legacy or something like that? Or somebody was saying, "Oh, Dame doesn't get enough respect" or something, and you go look at his accolades and he's got like nothing. Like
yeah, he's got nothing. And a lot, I mean, he's really good. He's a really good player. There's one point in time arguably probably might be still the top 10 player in the NBA. It's a real thing. He was the MVP of the bubble. I don't know if you remember that. He got that weird bubble award.
Yeah.
But this is kind of what we saw with Aaron Rodgers. He was with Green Bay forever. There had been actual times and things where he'd like, I like being here. I want to win with this team. They gave him a start, all that good stuff. And just year after year after year, it was like Aaron Rodgers has no help. Now, eventually, Aaron Rodgers did it to himself, where he started playing bad in the playoff and all that stuff.
Yep.
But the point of he was saying he was wanted to be with the team, wanted to help them win, but the team wouldn't help him win.
Exactly.
And now he's a New York Jet. There's only I think at this point in time, this has been the most disrespectful Portland has been to Dame because of how loyal and he's been to them and what he said about them and not causing too much of an issue. And they're just blatantly ignoring what he wants and things he's saying. And if that's the relationship they have, I think everyone's got their breaking point, even Damian Lillard.
Exactly. It's coming. I mean, that's, Bubble Boy either needs to make his decision or not. But by the way, that's what we're calling Damian Lillard for his bubble award. We're calling him Bubble Boy. But
let me ask you, you ever see the trophy of him holding like the Mickey Mouse MVP award?
No.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah.
I'm calling him Bubble Boy. But yeah, Bubble Boy needs to make a decision. He either needs to, as we say, shit or get off the pot, Make your decision and request the trade, which he might. He hasn't been talking to them. So, but like you told me yesterday when I wanted to ask you a question about Portland, I don't care. Until something happens, I don't care.
I don't believe anything that happens that comes out of Portland because every single year we hear the same things, and every single year, you know what happens? Dame's still a Blazer. I just don't care. I don't care.
Your Miami Heat have been pushing for Dame hard recently.
I would love to have Dame if they'd freaking let us have him. It's not up to us at this point. Damian Lillard is annoying, and the Blazers are possibly pieces of shit.
Possibly pieces.
That's where we're at with this. Our actual closing topic of the day, a little something extra, a little bonus take. Big boxing match coming up. If you're into that sort of thing, Steve has a take on it. Going to give you a little history lesson, why it's important, why you should watch. So without further ado, Steve, take it away.
One of the biggest boxing matches that I can think of in recent boxing history, probably bigger than Floyd and Manny was when they fought, simply because of the time frame of when they fought versus when they should have fought. But Errol Spence and Terrence Crawford are squaring off July 29th for the undisputed welterweight championship of the world. So the reason that this is such a big fight. So if you know anything about boxing, one of the most annoying things is champs not fighting champs. So boxing has gotten very diluted with the amount of belts that they have in boxing today. And it's very rare that you get to see somebody have the ability to hold all 4 belts at one weight class, especially in these money divisions, as we call them, which are the divisions that have the best fighters and have the, top popularity. Usually that's anywhere between 130 and 168 in the heavyweights. But I personally have Errol Spence coming out of this with a late round knockout, either 10 or 11th round knockout. But the reason this is such a big fight, we have not had an undisputed champ in the welterweight division. Man, I can't tell you when the last one was. It's probably been since, actually, you know what? Since we're the sound, we are going to tell you right now, because that's what we do and we inform our viewers. So I'm sorry, Errol Spence is currently the unified welterweight champion. So Well, Errol Spence is putting his belts on the line, and all 4 belts are going to be up for grabs for the 147 division. So this is a huge fight. Everybody's going to be tuning in. It's probably going to be one of the most watched fights in boxing history. Yes, in boxing history. This is a fight that has been talked about for the last 2 years now. 2 warriors that are going to be taking it on in the ring. Both of them are undefeated. Both of them putting their undefeated streaks on the line. Both of them putting their belts on the line. That you could not ask for a better fight. This fight is that level caliber, Cam, that this is going to be, I mean, as I said, this is the biggest welterweight fight. You're going back into the times when you had Pacquiao, Mayweather, Cotto, when you had guys like, Shane Mosley, when you had those fighters at 147. And this is bigger than some of those fights. So this is going to be a huge fight.
Yeah, and you brought up a good point, which I hadn't thought of until you said it, that in boxing, you don't get a lot of champs on champs. And I think when you talk about boxing legacies and you try to compare people, it's hard sometimes because everyone has played against such different levels of competition within their fights. It's not like, football, basketball, whatever. It's always a lot of one-on-one, and you can compare to other greats. Whereas when you do boxing, there's more rare instances of that. So this would be good for both their legacies, and like you said, just boxing as a whole, you finally have something comparable to look at and watch and enjoy.
Oh yeah, and I mean, neither of these guys are what I would consider to be top 10 welterweights all time. The welterweight division is one of the most storied and historic divisions in boxing. But what this does is this, at least there's been an argument. I mean, this is seriously an argument as to who's number 1 in this division. I mean, and it really creates arguments sometimes in the boxing community. Oh no, Bud Crawford's better. Oh no, Errol Spence is like, and they argue and they fight. They've had some similar opponents, but what it really comes down to is now finally we will have an answer to that question.
I mean, this would kind of be like if the Bucks and Nuggets were in the finals.
We will finally have an answer to which is the real best welterweight, and we haven't had that answer in the last 5-6 years. So July 29th, it's going to be on pay-per-view. You really are not going to want to miss this fight. I'm probably going to pay to have it here. I'm going to have some wings, some pizza, a couple brewskis. So, it's going to be it's going to be a big event.
If you like this video and this content, make sure to like the video, subscribe, share it around. We got plenty of more videos like this. We are hoping to have a video recorded within the next 3 days. We're hoping, we said Wednesday, right? This coming Wednesday. We're going to record. Hopefully going to have a video out for you on Thursday.
And we're going to have a new segment.
Oh, yeah. That's right. Steve on Ice.
We're going to preview the NHL draft.
We also should be the NFL division segment coming up soon, right? We got a new segment coming up soon. We'll announce that a little bit later time. But thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Hope you enjoyed this video. Stay safe, and we'll see you guys next time.
No, you got to sign off. And remember.
Oh, that's right. Hold on. Turn the music back on. And always remember, if you are ever in need of intelligent and cogent sports analysis, just listen to the sound. We always have you covered. Now we'll see you guys next time. Have a great rest of your day.
Listen to the sound. I listen to the sound.